And you can do so with the 3 bullets at the top where it says transcript. You can change that to whatever language. So if you want it to be Spanish, if you want it to be French, you can feel free to do so. This is going to be a recorded session. It'll be live on YouTube after today. So if you feel like you're missing anything, or if I'm speaking too fast, you can always catch the replay. Feel free to stop me whenever you like. I think this is going to be a small group. And so use this almost as an opportunity to ask whatever questions you may have for the global exchange. Another way that I'm going to also do this is I'm going to give you some information, but then I'll take you step by step into what the process looks like within one of the groups. So once again, welcome to the Global Cultural Exchange. This is our 3rd cohort. I am super excited. If you don't know me, my name is Jariksa Vijalaba. I am one of the Educator Innovation Leads at Flip. My focus as an Educator Innovation Lead is cultural and linguistic diversity. And what that looks like is I'm always the person to ask the question, who's missing from this conversation? Whose perspective is missing? I create initiatives that are aligned with culturally responsive, sustaining education. And so it's always experiences created for students by educators like myself, where we're promoting diversity and we're finding ways for students to feel included in classrooms beyond just saying, hey, I have students from different backgrounds, and so my lesson just talks about backgrounds. And so with the Global Cultural Exchange, what you'll see is this is an experience that not only discusses diversity, but it's showing students how to embrace it in a way where it may be new and it may be challenging to some students. Alonzo, you have a question for me? You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can put it in a chat. I can see both. Okay. Okay, so that means I'm going to keep going. So if you want to connect with me, meaning throughout this time, you feel like right now you don't have any questions, but after this session, you have a ton of questions. If we're already not connected, whether if it's on Twitter or on LinkedIn, please feel free to jot down my contact information. If you want to have a one-on-one session where you're just like, hey, Jariksa, can we have this session where you just do this entire thing over for myself or my students? Please feel free to email me. I've done that with cohort 1 and cohort 2, where I literally did a getting started PD for students. I'm open to it, so just reach out. So what is Flip? What I realized was in this cohort, we have a lot of individuals who are new to Flip. And so our mission at Flip is to make learning fun and empowering for everyone. And that looks totally different, right? Growing up, I always thought that fun was whenever a teacher would make me laugh. Right? Hey, this is fun. They're cracking jokes. Now, as an educator, I think fun is being able to create different opportunities and experiences for students to feel like they are a part of your lesson. And so, what you'll see throughout not only your experience with this global exchange, but just in using Flip, students will feel more like they're a part of the lesson that you created. And that is our mission, to empower your students' voices, but also to let them know that they're independent learners and independent thinkers throughout this process. So what is Flip? Flip is social learning. We are a free app from Microsoft where you as the educators create this safe environment through the content, and students would join your groups or join your communities, and they would then create these video discussions. What's really cool about it is students have a way where they can do this, whether if it's short video, whether if it's using the boards for text, or even using mic only mode. And I'll show you all 3 of those ways today, because these are also ways that you'll see throughout the exchange that students are using. So remember, through this process, it's not about forcing students to create videos. It's about giving students the opportunity to not only feel like themselves, but to do so in a way where it's asynchronously, right? You may have some students, and we've experienced this in the first 2 cohorts, where Students are tuning in from different places around the world. And so some videos may go through where at my time it's 4 o'clock in the morning, your time may be 6 a.m. in the morning, and your students are not getting to those videos until 10 or 12. And that's totally fine. It's designed to embrace the fact that we're all in different time zones. So I'll pause here to see if anyone has any questions before I get into the factors that make this a successful experience. Does anyone have any questions for me so far? Okay, perfecto. So there are 5 key factors that will make this global cultural exchange successful. And these are 5 key factors that I've actually taken away from the first cohort, which was in January, and the second cohort, which was in March. Above all, what really is a key factor in all of this, it's you and your students. So yes, we're going to touch on diversity. Of course, the experiences that we create are based off of equity, meaning how are you meeting students where they are? We're going to emphasize accessibility. We're going to touch on the immersive reader and how a lot of this content is translated. But also, your students are going to feel included in this process. Whether or not they want to create videos is totally up to their comfortability level. But even if they're just participating in viewing someone else's videos and commenting, that makes the global cultural exchange successful as well. So I know as educators, we're going to stress the fact that we want our students to create videos, but just think about it as students can participate by also just viewing videos and commenting. Okay, so this is the fun part. Some of you are probably wondering how many classes and schools are involved for cohort 3. So as of this morning, we have 153 classes representing 33 countries that are slated to begin in May. And that looks different across the board. We have 5 different groups this time, whereas in January, we only had one group, and in March, we had 2 different groups. This time, you'll notice that the groups are separated across according to grade level. And that's because we've heard what some of the feedback was from the second cohort, where they may have just wanted K through 6 to be in one group and the high school students in the other. That way, there's a level of comfortability with high school students interacting with high school students. And then we've created a separate university group that's totalmente en español, right? Where you have this group of 28 educators representing Chile and Mexico and Venezuela, and it's just Spanish. So all of the content is already in Spanish. And then we have a separate university group that's all languages. What you'll notice is the same with all is that all the topics are similar. What's different is the content within the topic. So like a K through 6 group, I may not ask students to complete a lot of the tasks. Maybe it's 2 bullet points compared to 4 or 5, depending on the grade level. So even though it's the same title, and I'm asking students to think about SDGs or to think about Minecraft, we're asking them to do something a little totally different. I'll give you a background. So currently, the cohort 2 group for the Global Cultural Exchange K through 12 group, we've had over 1,200 students. And I'm using this as an example because although the exchange was finished March 31st, we actually still have students from Milan and students from California submitting videos down to this morning. And so one takeaway that I would love to share with you all is even though it's slated for the month of May, your students have access to this all year round, right? And so your students don't have to complete all 5 topics or all 4 topics just within 1 month. You can spread it out. I've had schools that focus on creating their videos the first 2 weeks and then use the last weeks to just comment and to go in and to learn. It is totally up to the educator. We have 5 separate groups for May. And as you can see, I put the number of registrations. That way you can get almost like a gist of who registered. And so for right now, our leading group is K through 6. We have 66 registrations in K through 6, 20 different countries, followed by 9 through 12, and then 7 through 8. And then university levels, we have 28 and 8. Most of the countries are similar in the sense that, we have schools from China participating in K through 6 and 7 and 8. We have schools from Spain participating in 7 and 8 and 9 and 12. And so you'll see that there's an overlap in what countries are participating, but it's totally different schools. And so each registration actually represents a separate school, which is honestly cool, right? Even if it's within the same state or within the same district, it's still a different school. Do we have any questions before I go into what are some steps that you can share with your students? Okay, I'll take that as a thumbs up. So we've heard about the 5 key ways that make this experience successful. Now I just want to go into some steps that you'll also share with your students. You'll all get a copy of this slide deck as well. So just in case you want to share it with your students, if you want to print it out in PDF form, you have my permission to do so. But the first is you're going to prompt your students to read the topic description. So each topic description was created with your students in mind. And the idea is that not only is it going to be an introduction as to what the topic is, so if it's a day in the life, students are going to learn about the fact that your geographical location plays a major part in not only our day-to-day life, but how we learn. And then I'm going to ask students to share what are some things that they do on their daily lives. I'm going to show a video today that's depicting a student from California sharing his day in the life. Your students have all autonomy in sharing whatever it is they want to share. As educators, what I would say is take a look at those videos. There was so much learning taking place with educators viewing videos, this especially the same second cohort, where one of the biggest takeaways was a lot of students, especially in California, shared that when it was raining outside, if they felt a little depressed, they didn't want to get out of bed, right? Which tells us a lot about why students might be late to first period or why they may feel a little sad. And so pay attention to these videos. These are ways that you can bond with your students and school community. At the top, you'll see here that students will have access to Immersive Reader. They have access to Immersive Reader for every topic within Flip, and this is how they'll change their language into their preferred language. So regardless of where they are in the world, they can change the content. So although I wrote it in English, they can change it to whatever their preferred language is. And they will also be able to do the same thing with their closed captioning, which I'll share in a second. So with Immersive Reader, which is what I just explained, students are able to translate the text into their preferred language. So the first step would be for them to click on Immersive Reader, and I'll show you as well on the screen. And then the next is they're going to click on the book that's open. From here, they'll be able to choose whichever language they want the text to be translated in. What's really cool about this feature is not only is it free because our platform is free, but students could also have the text read out loud to them, whether if it's in English or in their preferred language. I always seen that as a cool takeaway because it allows students who may not want to read at that point or who are having difficulties with comprehension to still be able to consume what the content in a task is. The next would be for students to record their videos and to submit it. Once students open up the camera, they'll be able to record their videos. You'll see today that some students are a bit creative where they're using different platforms beyond Flip and they just upload their videos. Your students are able to do the same thing. What's really cool about using Flip, especially for those of you who have used it in the past, you can change the lenses, you can use mic only mode, which I'll show today, and you could even change your backdrop. Once students record and submit their videos, they'll have access to edit their closed captioning. This is one of the most important aspects of this activity. And the reason for it is because this is how students are going to make their videos accessible to other students in other languages. So even if your student's video is in English, on Espanol, on French Creole, we're advising that students edit their closed captioning in their preferred language. That way, when other students are viewing their videos, they can click on Immersive Reader, which is going to be at the bottom of each video, and they're able to translate the closed caption into their own language. So if you can see here, I had created a video about tamales. And once I clicked on the three dots and I clicked on edit captions, the closed captionings opened up, and I was able to not only listen and view to my video, but I was able to make the changes that I needed to. What I realized was, even as a longtime Flip user, my name, Jarisa Vijalava, the way I pronounce it, that always is a problem with the system. And so I know, and I keep in mind that I have to go in and edit my closed caption, and that way my name is aligned. The recordings is pretty cool and really good at capturing language. So I would say that, if your students are recording in a place where it's not that much noise, it should be able to pick it up. But in case it doesn't, students have all autonomy to go in and edit their closed captioning. The last step would be for students to provide meaningful comments. Educators, if you're watching this, please feel free to take a snapshot of this specific slide, because there's some sentence starters that you can share with your students with how to place comments. What I realized was we all get excited when we see videos, and sometimes we leave comments like, oh, that's fun, oh, that's cool. And what I want to get students into doing is placing comments that will lead to further conversation. And so this is a practice that I think, even as educators, we all haven't really mastered, because sometimes even if I'm on social media, I quickly just say, oh my God, that's amazing. And that ends a conversation, as opposed to, hey, I love the way you included, or can you please explain more about? So that's something that we're also practicing here, because it won't be an exchange if students are not really interacting with each other. I'm going to pause here and ask if you have any questions. And if you don't, I'll go into Flip and actually show you all how to put this into practice. So
What
do
do
we
you
have?
do? I have a question. This is Amy.
Yes. Hey,
What do you
Amy.
do? Since I work with third graders, so editing text could be challenging because they're so little and some of the spelling isn't there yet. What do teachers usually do about that? Do they do it themselves?
So you can, but what I would say is, Amy, your students are they're speaking English, correct?
Yes.
It might pick it up where you don't even have to edit your closed captioning.
Okay.
I normally, usually when I create videos, the only thing that I have to go in and edit is my name. And that's because I'm pronouncing it Jadi Savi Jalaba.
Right.
So you'll see that your students might not have to go in and edit closed captioning. That's more for, especially for students who are speaking a different language, or who may speak a little fast, and so it's not picking it up. But what I would say is a good practice is just for you as an educator. Once students post their videos, you'll still be able to see their
Yeah.
closed captioning, and then you could probably say, oh, okay, well, it misspelled your name, and
Right.
just have, students just go in and just edit that one part as a
Right.
class. But it should be able to pick up everything that your students say anyway.
And then I have one other question, which isn't specific to this, but just I've been using Flip for a while now, like
Mm-hmm.
about 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And during the pandemic, it was easier in some ways because the kids were recording at home where it was more quiet.
Yeah.
The problem I have is my classroom background noise. Do you have any suggestions other than I've tried to convince them to get like a sound booth, but a little pricey.
Do your students use headphones?
They have headphones, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. What I've noticed, and I've been working with some students in a school out here in Queens, and their classrooms are like packed, but they're so small and compact. I've just been having students record with headphones on, and that's been taking away some of the background noise. So if your students are using headphones, that should work a bit. So I usually tell and ask students to just quiet down a bit. Don't yell into the camera, don't
Right.
yell into the microphone. But if they use headphones, it should work perfectly.
Even
I mean, either
it would block out what they hear, but wouldn't it still pick up the classroom noise?
no.
Really?
So what I realized was, now if you're using a headphone like like I have an iPhone, and it has that little speaker, but it's the old headphones where it's like the little speaker like near the mouth.
Yes.
Those are
Yes.
usually the ones that pick up all of the background noise. Those are the ones that usually pick up the background noise. But if it's a regular headset,
Yeah.
and your class is not, like, the students are not yelling, they're just speaking, you should
Right.
be good to go with that.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's
Oh,
helpful.
no
I'm gonna give
problem.
it a try.
And if you have any issues with that, Amy, you and I can jump on a call as well, and I can try to help out one way or another.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I think we should go directly into the group because I know you all are as excited as I am to go within the flip group. Are you able to see my screen? I know it's like 2023 and I still have to ask that question. Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. So I'm going to use the K6 group as an example here. And I'm actually going to turn off my camera. That way you're able to see this perfectly fine. So once you go into your group, you'll notice that there's a welcome topic, which is view only. My advice is go into that topic and review it with your students. There's a section for students and there's a section for educators. The educator portion is only saying, sign up for Flip, share this group join link with your student participants. For students, is asking them to record their video responding to the topic prompts. And then before they submit their video, students have a chance to almost like add a video description. What I'm asking students to add is just their first name, their grade, and their country. All right, so first name, grade, country, that's all we need for the video description. One feedback from students that we learned during the second cohort was sometimes students forgot to actually say which country they were from. And so other students who were placing comments would normally say, hey, what country is this, right? So to alleviate that, we're asking students to put it in the description. What you'll also see is there's an attachment. The attachments are the Canva passport activities, which I'll show you an example of, how to use Immersive Reader, which is a video, and then another video for students, which you'll be able to show students everything that I discussed today with you. So how to edit closed captioning, how to place comments on videos, how to upload a video. There's a student-friendly video just for your students if you feel like today's session was just a lot, which it might be, right? Because this is educator focused and centered. So let's click on a day in a life. For the K6 group, I'm just asking students to introduce themselves and to show what a day in a life looks like for them. Students are going to click record. And if you haven't been on Flip for a long time, what you'll notice is at the top left-hand side, students can still review the prompt. So if you haven't been on Flip in a while, then you've probably missed this release where students can still see the topic content without having to go back, right? And our students, they click record sometimes and forget what was asked. So this will be here and they can record without it even being seen. What else is cool is students are able to use mic only mode. So if you have some students who really don't want to show their faces, they can use mic only mode. And also a new addition, and I don't know how many of you have seen this new release, we have teleprompter. So there's no more having students try to remember what they want to say. So if your students wrote out what they wanted to say or even the answers to those questions, they could copy and paste it here. So hello, my name is Jadik Sabi Jalaba. And what's really cool is teleprompter can play as students are recording. The person that's going to view the video wouldn't even know that that student used teleprompter. The students can increase the text or decrease the text. So it all depends on you as the educator, but also students. This is how students are going to really drive their own learning. What I would say is we've had students also like use things like iMovie to create different movies for their videos. That's totally fine. They can click the upload click button, click on upload video. They can choose a video. I don't have any videos right now to upload because all of mine look a little scary, so I'm not going to scare you all today. But then they can use that. Other students can use Post-its just to remind them of what they need to do, right? So introduce yourself, country, etc. So there's so many ways that this becomes accessible for students. I mentioned that I was going to share with you all a student video. That way you can see some of the things that students have created. So I'm going to go into a day in the life for cohort 2. And I'm going to go into Wade's video because Wade gave me permission to show his video.
What's up, guys? This is my day in the life video of a person that lives in USA in California. So here we go. Hey guys, I just woke up and now I'm gonna go get dressed.
So what you'll notice is this is the closed captioning, right? And so at the bottom of Wade's video, I'm able to click on Immersive Reader, which is the book that's open. So I'm able to click on Immersive Reader. It opens up. This is Wade's closed captioning, and I'm still able to change the language, right? So if my preferred language is not English, even though Wade's video is in English, I can still change the language to my preferred language. So I'm just going to click on French Switzerland. I don't know why, but it's random for me. You'll see it here, but also, what if I just don't want to read it myself?
Quoi de neuf, les gars? C'est ma journée dans la vidéo de vie d'une personne.
The same if I decide, or if your students decide that they want to change it to Español and Spanish. You have 3 different dialects. You have Spanish, Latin America, Mexico, and Spain. I'm just going to put Spanish Mexico, choose the entire document, and then I can still
¿Qué
have
pasa,
it.
chicos? Este es mi video del día en la vida de una persona que vive en Estados Unidos, en California.
So you're still able to not only view his video, but then get the closed caption in your own language, your preferred language. As you'll see along the right-hand side, these are the comments, right? So Wade had 22 different comments. Some students commented with another video, which students do have that choice. You can add a comment, whether if it's text, or you can click at the bottom with the camera and add a video comment. What's really cool is some students talked about the transitions within Wade's video. And what Wade did was he did a lot of stop and go transitions, which your students can if they'd like, but it's totally up to them how they want the video, if they want it to be simple or if they just want to edit it a lot like Wade did.
Hi guys, so this is what I'm gonna be wearing today, and let's go put that on. Now that we're dressed, let's go finish getting ready.
I will share
What's up, guys?
Wade's video with everyone watching today. That way you can share this with your students as well. And I'm just going to go into one more of the topics. That way you can see how students have been creating videos. So I'm going to go into the cultural eats topic where students have been sharing food. As you can see, there's so many different videos up here. I've had students actually cooking meals hand in hand with their parents. I have permission from a student to show you all her video, and I have permission from her parents. So I'm going to go to Koi's video.
Hello, I just woke up.
Hey guys, I'm Maria Sonia. I'm from Milan.
That was my fault.
Guys.
I kind of pressed something else. So let's go to Koi's video.
Hello, guys.
This is what happens when you have a ton of videos and it's just constantly uploading. Okay.
Hello, I just woke up. I have to whisper into the tiny mic because there's a guest, and I did not know she was coming. But today I am making fried rice, or cơm chiên, which is a Vietnamese dish. And the origin of this dish was basically in Vietnam, a lot of people don't like wasting food, so instead of throwing away old rice, they used the cold rice and fried it with a bunch of other leftovers.
So what's really cool about Koi's video is Koi actually made a video with her dad and they're cooking the fried rice. You'll also have access to view this video in a mixtape. I'll send it out in the follow-up email. But I'm going to pause here to ask if you all have any questions.
I love that video with the ratatouille on his shoulder. It's so cute.
I definitely didn't expect that video. And then when I seen it, I was like, this is cool. I was like, this is so cool. So what's new, right? For this cohort, we're actually integrating Minecraft. So those of you who don't have Minecraft education, no worries. This activity is a free activity for your students. So I'm going to clap it up. One of the biggest takeaways, and this, you're going to hear me say that a lot because I always take a month off just to review different videos from our cohorts, but also to listen to what students have to say about the experience. And what we realized was students love gaming. And so some students shared their gaming experiences within the videos, right? Like Wade mentioned towards the end, he comes home at night after dinner and he plays games. We had students from Milan saying they wake up and they play games. So I said, hey, why not have gaming within this experience, but in a way where it could teach students the biggest takeaway, which was to appreciate diversity and inclusion. And so we have a Minecraft activity called A Tale of Two Villages, and it's aligned with the Hour of Code. Each student is going to receive a certificate of completion. If you've already joined the Flip group, you'll notice that I actually added the certificate of completion as an attachment for educators who may want to print this out on your own. But also, as students are completing the activity, one will pop up on their screen if they want to print one out, right? So I know educators like to do things different. I've also had an elementary school teacher ask for it because she wanted to print it out for her students. So within that Minecraft topic, you'll see it. And so I wanted to share this video with you all because it is the video of the instructions for using Minecraft with your students within this task. I'm going to pause this here. So what's really cool about this video, and this is the video that I've also added to the flip topic, is that it is on YouTube. And so for those of you who want to share this video with your students and your students may speak a different language, within YouTube, you're able to translate the closed captioning. So that gives students access as well. If this is for the Minecraft education for the Spanish speaking university group. I've added all the materials there in Española también, so that way you can read it in Spanish and you can share it with your students in Spanish as well. You have the teacher lesson plan. You have it where it's asking students different challenges. And what I'm asking students to do for this activity is, as they're playing and as they're learning about inclusion in the two illagers, villagers and illagers, I'm asking students to just share their screen and to just share their experience. For K through 6, I'm not asking students to share their screen. I'm asking students to take a picture of their screen and use it as their backdrop, right? So that's the difference between the two levels. One, I'm asking students to share their screen. And for K through 6, we're just asking to take a picture and use it as their backdrop. There's also Minecraft education backdrop within Flip that students can use that was just released last week as well. I mentioned that you'll be able to see the student passport. This is the Canva passport. All of your students will be able to edit it and have their own copy. This is an example of a student who completed this. So for every task within the Flip topic, I know educators sometimes were just like, hey, where's the written portion? Students are able to jot down their learnings within the passport. So it first asks students to introduce themselves. Then we're asking students to discuss what countries they learned from, right? So maybe as an educator, you may say, hey, make sure that throughout this experience, you've learned about 6 different countries or 6 different cultures. And so they would jot down that information within Canva. I've had teachers in the K through 6 level print out these passports for their students and have students use it paper version. But it's totally up to you. You can print it out, or you can have students fill it in digitally and then print it out. It's all up to the teacher. And then there's that SDG alignment, because there is an SDG task. So students would then see, what are some things you learned about with sustainable development goals? What I also learned was this was a big takeaway for educators because it introduced educators to the SDGs. And so within that topic, you'll see that there's some hyperlinked material about what SDGs are for educators to use as well, but also for students to use for that specific task, where it's asking them to choose one SDG that they believe they can focus on to better assist their community. And then we have the inclusion portion. I've mentioned this when I was showing the camera, but students have this accessibility to mic only mode. So if your students don't feel comfortable showing their face, or maybe it may take some getting used to because now they're showing their face to students around the world, you can also influence them to use the mic only mode where it's only sharing their voice. And students can do something very similar to what I did here, which was I answered questions about myself here and then just shared my voice. Okay, so I don't have a Lego set. So it's not a Amy, it wasn't a video, it was just a mic only mode. It wasn't anything moving. It was literally, you should have been able to hear my voice.
I didn't even hear anything.
You didn't hear anything at all?
No.
Let me see.
But maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's okay.
Did anyone else? Was anyone else able to hear the mic only mode? Amy, also the PowerPoint slide deck, you should still be able to click on the play button from your end.
Oh. Now so I can do it. Is that what I was supposed to do?
You can, so it could go either way. So
really?
this is a live PowerPoint slide deck. So if you don't hear it from my end, you all can still click on any of those buttons. You could even move along to the next slide if I'm talking too slow for some of you. Yeah, so it's live. Everything is live right now.
That's great. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Nima, you can if you can click on the slide deck where it says inclusion, you'll see a play button and you could click it on your end. You should be able to hear it, and it wouldn't affect what I'm doing on my end either. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide because I'm looking at the time and I know some of you are past your bedtime on my end. So we also have the SDGs, as I mentioned. Students have access to an SDG chat. It looks different on each level. So within the college and university level, I'm actually asking students to dig deep into what's impacting their communities and to think of how they can solve an issue. For the high school and middle school level, I'm asking students to think about their community and think about an issue that they can have an action towards to raise awareness. For the K through 6 group, I'm just asking students to think about a SDG that best aligns with what they would like to do, right? So same content, but it looks different, and we're asking for different things based off of the grade level. You as the educator, you may want to add something to that, or you may feel like, hey, right now my students are not there. They're in kindergarten or they're in first grade. So all I want to do is just have students create videos with what are SDGs. That is totally fine. Remember, although we created this, it is supposed to be something that you as the educator take as your own and change things according to what you may want students to do. So you can't physically change it within the flip topic, but you can still say to your students, hey, I would only love for you to answer bullets 1 and 3. That's totally up to you. And so as we're closing, remember, spread the word. Registration closes May 1st, so they have until the first day of the actual exchange. If you have educators after May who really want to participate, please be sure to send me an email and I'll find a way to actually give them access to it. But do we have any questions at all before we sign off? Here is the link to your PD certificate. You can click on it. So you could click directly on this and it should take you to a short survey where you can then earn your PD certificate for today. So I'm going to pause and wait to see if we have any questions because I'm excited for May 1st.
Just had one quick question.
Yeah.
Do the teachers post videos themselves too sometimes, or it's just students?
So I've had teachers post videos in cohort 1 and cohort 2. Cohort 1, I've had teachers from Korea post videos. Cohort 2, I've had teachers from the US and Korea and Nigeria post videos. It's totally up to you. I would say feel free to post videos. Students also want to see teachers interacting. What you'll notice is that after May 1st, I'll also post a video, whether if it might be food or dance. That way it can get things going. Students want to see the adults interacting as well. And then what I usually do is if a teacher posts, I usually start that interaction with teachers.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. So if you want to post a video, please feel free to do so. I know your students want to see you and they want to learn more about your culture. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Oh, you are so welcome, Sandra. You are so welcome. I cannot wait. I'm excited. This is the 3rd time that I'm doing this, and I feel like in every cohort, I'm learning something new about students, but also about educators. So as I mentioned, feel free to email me, especially if you want me to do a one-on-one session with your students. I'm free to do that, regardless of the time or the time zone. So just email me and we can start planning something for your students. I love the accessibility within Flip. Usually people ask why I chose Flip, and it's way beyond me teaching. Working for Flip. It's because I know that it'll be a way for me to create something for students who speak different languages to still be able to interact with each other in a way where they don't feel like the frustration of not being able to understand someone. So if your students are speaking a different language, please influence them to use their preferred language. We have ways of other students accessing it within their own language. I'm looking at all of the comments. Oh, thank you so much from tuning in from Malaysia, and Mexico and the US. We're all here together. I appreciate all of you. I know it's so early in the morning, and over here it's 7:15. But guess what? This is what makes global collaboration awesome. Being able to see that some of you, regardless of how early or how late it is, you've joined in, and we're going to make this experience so special for your students. I'm excited. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm wishing you all a happy morning, evening, or night. Bye, everyone.